in others. I am the sun so high above. I am the sky rich with color. I am the roots of the earth.
Welcome out, everyone, to another episode of Decode Your Reality. My name is Logan, and today we're going to be doing an educational / decode. This is going to be linked to my how-to, my educational series. You can find these in my channel right here, the how-to series. I have a catalog, an ongoing catalog of how to decode yourself, one of the most popular decode I've done so far. Doing your totem pole, everybody should be doing that with the medicine cards, how to decode your name through the Francis Bacon, and yada yada yada. So this, how to decode through the satanic cipher, will be placed in here, and you can find that on my playlist right here by clicking on the playlist tab and then going down to the how-to series and clicking on that. And this video, how to decode through the satanic cipher, will be in here along with all the other ones. And I had not planned on doing this. I put all these slides together literally yesterday, and something triggered me. I cannot remember what it was, but here I am with this decode, and I have some other decodes that need to be done, but I decided just to place this one out in the forefront for whatever reason, as fate would have it, and here we are. So I know a lot of you like to use this one, and just why was it named Satanic? What does that name mean? Well, I think, obviously there were many of you that placed comments on my social media page. And I think it was Jason who said that, well, it's probably because it's linked to the 666 through the triangular number being 36. And that is absolutely true. It's probably one of the main reasons why Derek decided to, call it this. But I'm going to break it down to show you how to use this if you're a decoder, and show you my methodologies, and have a lot of fun with this. I was never a big fan of all the other ciphers, and I always will be a user of the Chaldean. I feel that is the most pure cipher along with the English, but obviously the other ciphers will end up giving you their truths because of the number 9. The number 9 is the repeater number, which incidentally, this one starts with the 36/9, ends with the 7, which is linked to the element lead, molybdenum, and gold if you reverse it. But nonetheless, the number 9 will give you the repeater of all of the numbers, and therefore any cipher that you decide to use eventually is going to provide you with the same truth and lead you to the same origins, and this satanic cipher is no exception. So let's get into this, have some fun, and really just kind of go through this presentation with a light heart, because it is a pretty heavy name, satanic. But somebody had asked me, what is Satan? I want to know, what's Satan? What does being satanic mean? Because obviously most people, when they say satanic, it means the devil. Well, there are other ways to look at this as well. I believe firmly that Satan is time. That's why it says the devil only has a short period of time. And as we move through time, things get taken away because time decays. Time ends everything. Time will ruin everything. And if we have an original, there's no particular thing, I just found this graphic, but if we start here at let's just say this is the golden age, and this is this is the golden age, and this is the dark age. As we move through time, that's what makes the golden age dark, because as you move through time, time decays. Time ends up infiltrating everything, and it will bring a baby to death in a senior citizen aspect. It will tarnish reputations. It will make governments decay and become not what they used to be. It infiltrates everything. So the devil, aka Satan, aka time, will literally just bring down everything to its knees and darken everything. So is there really an adversary named Satan the devil? I don't know. I've never met this character, but I know it's attributed to time. And then I also know that Satan is you and I. Because as you move through time, as I move through time, starting off as a baby, we know nothing here. As we move through time, we pick up pieces of our experiences which bring us down to our knees. We see things that, they bring us down, they weigh us down. So essentially, time is what does that. And as we move through time, we become, that's why I have been saying, be the best little devil you can be. Because we're all the little devils down here. And the black suns in our eyes are kind of a dead giveaway. We got 2 of them. And these are the master illusionists. We've all been duped. And of course, it's funny because this is the Vesica Pisces, the fish are right there. But nonetheless, the black suns, we gather the light. And these can deceive us. That's why, in the theological expressions, the Christ said, let thy eye be single. And that's because you want to rely on the third eye. You want to close off these devils and go within. So we are the devils. We are Satan. That's why we got to own our shit. Stop blaming other things. Become the best little devil you can be. If everybody did that, well, it would eliminate a lot of the evil on the world stage. So that's just kind of my perspective of it. And there's more to it than just what I'm showing you here. But that's how we're going to start this off. Just kind of a little brief overview of what I think Satan is. And I'm going to show you some more of that because I also think it's the sun, and I'm going to bring that into this presentation as well. And let's start off with this right here. The magic square of the sun. Now, if you have never really observed this, there are magic squares for all the planets, majority of them anyway. And they're numbering sequences that are attributed to their respected planets. And here is the magic square of the sun. And this uses the numbers 1 through 36. Here's the number 1, and all these numbers are just jumbled up, but here's the number 36 in each of the respected corners. And each row is, if you add it up using simple math, it equals 1, 1, 1. And if you take these 6 rows, obviously you're going to get 666. And that's why the sun is the great beast above us. It's the 666 in the as above. And then mankind is the 666 in the so below. We are the devils, the sun devil. And what's really interesting about the magic square of the sun being tied to the satanic cipher is that number 36. Notice that the number chosen to start this cipher off, I don't know, I don't even know where Derek, maybe Derek from Gematria Neger can comment on where he got this from. But nonetheless, the letter A is the starting point, and it starts off with the number 36, which is really interesting because 3 plus 6 gives you the 9. There's the 369, supposedly the keys to the universe. And then it ends with the Z, and that's the 6 plus 1 equals 7. And now you have the 9 and the 7. The 97, of course, if you've been paying attention, is the element molybdenum, which means lead. And it's also the mirror of the 79, which is gold, which is the sun. And I'm going to be showing that during this presentation. So there it is. And what's really fascinating is when we take the word Oz, The Wizard of Oz, one of the most famous movies of all time. 1939 it came out. I decoded The Wizard of Oz. I'm going to be showing that in just a little bit. But what do you think? I mean, the word Oz is the number 111 using the satanic cipher, and that is a makeup of one of these rows. Of course, the end result is the 666. So in the satanic, the Wizard of Oz is tied to the sun. And, follow the yellow brick road. The sun is the color yellow. It's kind of interesting. What about the word Satan itself? I mean, after all, this is the name of the cipher. Well, now we bring theology, not theology, astrology. I should say astrotheology, because that's what it is. But we bring astrology into this. Satan is a 230. Now, what we could also do, just so you know, those of you that would like to do more decoding than what you see, you can reduce these down. Derek could make a reduced satanic, and you'd have the 99194, which is going to give you 32, which is going to, if you reduce it down, those of you that like to reduce down, it's going to give you the number 5. Now, what's interesting about this 230, when you drop that 0, you get the number 23. 23 is called the Royal Star of the Lion in numerology, and that's why I have the zodiac sign or the constellation Leo the Lion. And the Royal Star of the Lion is Regulus, which you could decode all of these through using the satanic. It's the heart of the lion. And the 2 + 3 = 5. And the 5th zodiac sign is Leo the Lion. What's really interesting about the number 5 is it's the only number that almost represents the letter S, which is why I have that in parentheses. It represents the letter S. And what does the word sun start with? The letter S. And Leo the Lion, if you are not really a huge fan of astrology, just know that all these zodiac signs are ruled over by a planet, and Leo the Lion is ruled over by the sun. That's its master. So how very fitting that this is 23 or 230 reduced down to the 5. 5 is Leo. Leo's ruled by the sun. And if you haven't seen my Sun Devil, please check that whole video out, because I showed that the sun is the devil, which ultimately is going to lead to Satan. So moving forward, going back to this magic square of the sun. Well, it obviously that's 666, a real scary number to most people. And they automatically, those of you that are really kind of heavily deeped into theology, they automatically will just, it's the devil and stay away from that number, and which of course it is. 6 + 6 + 6 is 18, which is a 9. But it also links to the moon through the tarot. But notice that here is the triangular number, and probably the reason why Derek made this cipher and used the letter A as the number 36. It's the triangular number for the 666. But the 36 is the big clue. So folks, those of you that are trying to really kind of adopt this methodology, it's not just using numerology or gematria and then, the magic square of the sun. And it's also bringing alchemy into this, because these are bridges. These give us more clues as to how this reality works. Sometimes they're just connecting the dots. And we know that Krypton was the planet that Superman was from. And his father was Kal-El, which Kal is potassium and aluminum, which is 19 and 13, which is Game Master. That's for a different story, but Krypton is a representation of the sun. And that number 83 is a big one as well. I'm not going to go into that, but in my other decodes, if those of you have been watching, the 83 is the sun, the moon, and the earth, and the recycling process. But there is the beginning point of this cipher, is the number 36 and the 666. And, bringing in just some Chaldean in this just a little bit, I told you I would be. I had done this decode on The Wizard of Oz. If you haven't seen this one, please check it out. It's got a lot of people sharing it and watching it. Thank you very much, by the way. But I had shown that, what is the Wizard of Oz is osmium right here. And then the OS stands for operating system. I think so anyway. And there it was, the operating system, which I have a decode coming out on the number 50. Wait till you see the number 56 decode, and I'm going to blow you guys away with that one, you guys and gals. But the operating was the 36. So what's running this system? What's the operating part of it, which is it's the sun, which is the Phoenix. Phoenix is 36, Krypton's 36, operating's 36, and this cipher starts off with the number 36, with the letter A. So therefore, it's all connected when you really break it down this way, and it's linked to the sun. The system is run by the sun, as I showed through this Wizard of Oz decode. So what does the satanic cipher have to say about those words, operating system? Well, it's a 731, and that is a number anagram, otherwise known in mathematics as a permutation, where you jumble the words around, but they kind of give you the same meanings, of the 137, which is the 33rd prime, which I'm going to be showing in just a little bit. So just remember what I said. And 311 is the 64th prime number, which is tied to our DNA. But nonetheless, it's the 731. And here's where we get into another layer of decoding using this methodology, is you get your results from numerology and you bring it into the digits of the golden ratio. And you plug in your numbers and you find out the connecting points to this. So I'm going to go and show. This is the website that I use right here called Cymbidium.com. This is what it's going to look like when you log on. I'll leave the links in the description of this how-to video, and that way you can just click on them and go right to the website. But this is what you're going to be brought to, and then you have to click on it. It has 4 options. It has pi, the square roots, and the golden ratio. So you'd want to click on the golden ratio, and it's going to bring you to this page right here, and then you can just start typing your digits in, and it's going to tell you where these digits land. And this, of course, is tied to nature, because the golden ratio phi is tied to the Fibonacci sequence, and it's a big deal. And these have a lot of truths, because this is nature talking now. So the number 731 is found at the 479th decimal digit. And what is 479? Now we have to link this to something else. So we now go to this right here. We go to numberempire.com. And you always want to check everything against numberempire.com. It's a prime, a polygonal number. You can get into some more advanced decoding, sine and cosine waves, square roots. But the 479 is a prime number, and that's a big freaking deal. Prime numbers are standalone numbers. They're a big deal in mathematics, a big deal in the decoding world. And that 92 is going to be, we go right back to alchemy again. We bridge the gap, and it's uranium. It's you, the you. It's you and me. And this element right here, if you go and study uranium, these elements give you clues. Uranium has a decay process like these elements do when you leave them out, and it decays down into radium, radon, which is tied to Ra and the sun. So is there a controller beyond the sun? Could it be this U, whatever that is? And the 92 is the mirror of the 29, which is Yaldabaoth. But I'm going to be showing that as well during this presentation. But there's the bridge. It's uranium, landing at uranium. So we started an operating system 731, tie that into the golden ratio 479. 479 is the 92, and now we're at uranium. And uranium has a decay process going down to radium, which is Ra, the sun. I'm going to be showing Ra at the end. So here's the permutation, the number anagram of that 731. It's the anagram, the number anagram of the 137, which is this element right here. Again, you always want to check the periodic table. You should have these tabs open when you decode all the time and decode against the periodic table. There are so many truths and clues in here, from symbols to shapes to melting points. But barium, I'm going to be coming out with this, is going to be included in my 5060 code. Wait till I come out and show you what the significance of this element is. It's going to blow your mind. But there it is. The 731 is the 137, and it's the 56. And what's really interesting is that the 56 is tied to this letter right here in the cipher, the letter U, and you go right back to uranium, and you go right back to this slide right here from the operating system down into the golden ratio, golden meaning the sun, going into the number and the primes, 92, and getting that end result of uranium. And then we go right to the permutation of 731 being the 137 of the 56th element. The 56 is tied to the letter U, and you go right back to uranium. You see how this works, folks? That's why this is all connected. Eventually, you'll connect all back to the same source, telling you the story that mankind is not running the show here. Let's keep going. So in my decode of The Wizard of Oz, through this operating system, I went ahead and showed that the operating system was 56, and it's tied to lights, camera, action being 56, which we live inside of a movie. It's what I have been continually showing over and over. A lot of you great decoders have been following along and finding the same patterns in your own life. You got to be the best little devil, be the best little actor you can be. This is not a real reality. It's a simulation. I know it appears real, but we're entertainment for the gods. Just like your television, just like your cell phone, just like your computer, that's your entertainment. You're so below. Well, we're the so below for whatever's observing us through their lens. And lights, camera, action, as I showed, is 56. The letter U is 56, which is the 21st letter in the English alphabet, leading to the world card and leading to Saturn and Zeus and all that stuff. But here is lights, camera, action using the satanic. It's the 808. Which is kind of interesting because 808 is the area code for Hawaii, and Hawaii equals 33. But the 808, of course, there's no place like home equals 88 in the Chaldean, but the 88 is big. It's tied to Yttrium, the 39th element, tied to Lucifer, and tied to the number 39, which is tied to, if you watch my prison planets, it's tied to the incarnation-reincarnation process. So let's get back to the magic square of the sun. Being that 666, many of you, I think Ethan, you had put this out on my post when I had posted I'm coming out with this. And I knew this because I had checked this out. Of course, you're going to check satanic against the 666. Many of you found this. No brainer, but it's the 471. So what does the 471 lead us to? That's the big question, because you can't just leave it here. It is the left-hand side. If you look at your dial pad or calculator, it's going to be the 147, the left-hand side of the dial pad. It's also going to be linked to these two words right here, the anti and the Christ. It's just interesting because the anti is 184. That's linked to tungsten and the wolf. But the Christ is the 287, but it's a 471 linked to the 600. And then, so people that are in theology, when you see this kind of stuff, you're automatically going to be say, there it is, you see? 666, it's the devil, it's the Antichrist. But see, folks, it's way beyond that scope of thinking. So just what is the Christ? We're going to get into that in a minute, but Antichrist, the 471, is found right here. So now we're going to use the string of pi this time. And again, you just go right back to Sabidium.com, and now you're going to click on this pi. Those of you that are new, you're just going to click on that right there, and it's going to bring you to, now you're going to be able to measure in pi. And you should be, all your numbers, everything you find, you should always fact check against the string of pi and the string of the golden ratio. You should be using these automatically all the time with your decodes. So in the string of pi, which is the perfect circle, which is what makes up our fears and emotions, it's the 188 tied to the 471. And it's kind of interesting because the word evil equals 188. But remember, folks, the word live equals 188 as well. So again, is this just telling us that the sun comes down and becomes man, and it lives out its life, and it has some sort of evil? Because we all have evil inside of us. If you're being authentic with yourself, all of us have duality inside of us. It's inescapable. So just what about the Christ? What about the Christ figure, this big name on the world stage? And again, this has so many different meaning. In the Chaldean, it's the 18. But I mean, you can go 74. You can go so many different places with this. But in the satanic, it's the 287. Again, I'm going to fact check it against the string of pi and the numbers, because these numbers to me are going to provide many truths. And there you go. Lo and behold, it's linked to the number 911. And then where do you go from there? This is a great rendition, artist rendition, a painting done. And obviously these are the Mr. Smiths. And then Jesus is the Neo character, which is, Julius Caesar character. But the Christ is the sun, and then you have the black suns down here, just trying to beat them up. It's the yin yang right here. And these are the agents protecting the earth and the matrix from Neo, the one, the sun, the light. And of course, essentially it's love and fear right here. But the Christ is tied to the 911. So now what? Because the 911 obviously is tied to that event that happened on the calendar, which had nothing to do with love. So is it possible this means not what you think it means? And again, when you play either Smith or Neo, you're playing the game. And I think not playing is the way to win, but in these stories. But anyway, let's keep going. How about this sun deity called Helios? In the Greek, there's the Greek spelling of it right here. And it's the number 71, the original. And I know this is Greek, but the reason why I'm bringing this in is because 666 equals 471. And then when you use alchemy and you look at that element on the periodic table that has that 471, well, it's a permutation. It's lutetium. And that has has 71 protons. 7 and 1 are the chakras, the root and the crown. That's mankind, by the way. But it's tied to Helios through the original spelling. And it's the sun god. It's the sun. So 666 obviously is Helios and the sun. The as above, from what this is telling us. And of course, Lucifer is going to be in there. So what about the word lutetium? Well, let's break that down. Here it is. Lutetium is 401. And of course, lo and behold, it's not just any number. Going into numberempire.com, I always want to fact check these numbers against numberempire.com. 401 is the 79th prime number. And what's 79 through alchemy? You always want to fact check it against that as well. Another step, it's freaking gold. And what is gold otherwise known as? The sun. What is Helios? The sun. Helios is 71. Lutetium is 71. Lutetium is 401. 401 is the 79th prime. 79 is gold. You see how this works when you just connect? You got to use alchemy. You use the numberempire.com. You can use your numerology, but you got to combine them all together to get a more in-depth truth of how this reality works. What about Lucy? Lucifer is also known as Lucy. Well, Lucy's a 201. If you want to know what the why was the 201 used for the simulation? Well, obviously it's clear as day using this cipher. Event 201 is tied to Lucy being 201, and we know that corona is another word for the sun. So what this cipher's telling us is that Event 201, do you think man is running it? No, it would be the sun running it. And I know some of you would say, no, it's man's doing it for sure. But man's not orchestrating it. Man is simply being used by energies outside of us, which obviously include the sun. And I mean, it's they say it's a zoonotic. I mean, the zoo is the astrology signs. It's also known as the zoo. And that's what the sun uses as it moves around the ecliptic. It moves to these zodiac signs, the zodiac, the zodiac, the zoo. That's why there's the tie-in to the 201. Now, that doesn't mean this is an end-all, but obviously when you use the methodologies, applying other numerology ciphers, you're going to come to the same conclusions I have, that mankind is being used. I mean, what do you think? Why do they color it orange? I mean, come on, folks. It's pretty crystal clear. This is just using this. I can use other ciphers. I can tell you about the 201, and I found this even before I found that. I thought this was a pretty interesting find, but I knew the 201 was tied to the sun before I even found this using the satanic cipher. So the more layers you add on, the more convincing it tells you that this reality is scripted, and it ain't scripted by man. Man's just following the script. How about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, the song, and I have this coming out with my Superstar Part 3 decoded, the band The Beatles, off their album Sgt. Pepper. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. What were they talking about? Well, of course, the diamonds is Lucy. It's the sun. And the diamonds are the stars as well. But it's the number 1151, and go fact check it against numberempire.com. Oh, lo and behold, it's just a 190th prime number. And then we want to bring this into alchemy, find the bridge, and there it is, the bridge to tell the story. And this is not the first mention of the Wizard of Oz. There it is again. It's osmium, and it's Oz. This is how you say osmium. So I know some of you say, well, it's an S, but I know, but phonetically it sounds the same. And there it is, right back, 111, going right back to the magic square of the sun. Even if you reduce the 190 and just get rid of the 0, you're going to be linking it to the tarot. So here's another layer that I use through my methodology, the cards of the tarot, because they give us the pictures of how this reality works, and the 19th card is the sun card. So obviously it's telling you clearly what's going on in this reality. It's all pledging to the sun, the moon, the stars, the constellations, the zodiac signs. So let's bring into this presentation now. Of course, we can't leave this out because this deity right here, which could be running everything, could have created everything, I don't know. But it's the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. And you could spell it VH or WH. It's going to give you 203, 204. Numbers encroach, so it really doesn't matter. If you do the 203 and the 204, you're going to get the 407, which is the 47 in Tetragrammaton. So it really doesn't matter. But the YH, WH, or YH, VH, it's the 204. And why I'm bringing this character in, because this is the God of the Holy Bible, which is the most popular book on the world stage. It's not just a book. It's the most read, prophesied, proclaimed, prayed. The most trust is put into this book. And this is the God of the Bible right here. Right there. It's the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. And this is the original letters from the Hebrew. There's only 4 of them. No vowels. And the 204, when we bring that into the string of the golden ratio, you're going to be led right to the same outcomes as I showed with Lucifer and the Christ and the 666. It's the 204 occupies 3 digits, 19, 20, and 21. 19 is the starting point, going right back to the tarot card, the sun. So what do you think the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh is? According to this cipher, sun. And then, when you add up 19, 20, and 21, get out your calculator. Pretty simple math right there. It's going to give you the number 60, and bringing just a bridge here for Chaldean, because these are, again, you can combine these two, but you should always use your golden ratio, the tarot, and alchemy as much as you possibly can, and try to stick with the same cipher to create your foundation. I've shown this so many times. Many of you have now as well. This is what we're doing. We're feeding the wolf is this system. It's the battery we live in. And it's the number 60, and 19, 20, and 21 equal the number 60. And it's all about the wolf. What are we feeding? The wolf, which of course is 24, and 24 is tied to the X chromosomes and tied to, in the satanic cipher, it's going to be this letter right here. And what's interesting about this, those of you that have been paying attention, the 59 is tied to the game of life. The game of life is 59. So what is the wolf in the Chaldean? It's 24 in the X chromosomes, and the 24 is the 59 in the satanic, and it's the game of life. So what about the wolf? What is the wolf? Well, it goes right back to the sun again. Because in the satanic, it has the number 196. Again, taking these outcomes and comparing them against the periodic table and the elements, they give you many bridges and clues. The 196 is the weight of gold, otherwise known as Aurum. That's why it's spelled AU. The abbreviation Aurum is 19 through the Chaldean. And there it is. And that's the sun. So that's what we feed. We're feeding the sun. Which this is saying is the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. Which this is saying that it's Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Which this is saying it's Helios. Which it's saying that it's the Christ and the Antichrist. All of this stuff. And the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh is no exception. So what about the element, the wolf? Well, it's Wolfram. And I thought this was really interesting because it was 333, and that's obviously the number 9, but in its authentic fashion, 333 is just 333, and this is a really big deal number. Tied to Gemini, the 3rd house of astrology. It's going to be tied to Mercury, the communicator to the sun. as well, because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and it's going to be tied to the Empress, which is the mother that gives birth. But the big standout is, obviously it's tied to this 74th element, wolfram, otherwise known as tungsten. And tungsten, they used to make filaments and light bulbs with tungsten, and the light bulb is a representation of the sun. It's the so below of the sun. So what about the string of the digits of pi? We did the golden ratio for the Yod He Vav He. Now let's do the digits of pi. And 204 occupies digits 374, 375, 376. Starts with 374. And what's the 374? We're going to bridge the gap now with the Chaldean. Well, you're going to clearly see that there is the God right there, 374. It's God. It's 374. So obviously, yeah, Yahweh is God. That's why I don't like using these words. I don't particularly use them that much. I always am conscious of the words that I use, because this can mean so many things. And again, that's when I had said Satan is time. Time is 14. God is 14. And Satan is pi itself, 3.1415. It's time. We move through time. We create the perfect circle through our emotions of love and fear through the digits of pi. We live on pi. Mother Earth is pi. And this is the prison that we live in. It's the infinity symbol. And do we ever get out? I don't know. But it's the time god, Satan. That's what operates time. And obviously, the Yod He Vav He is directly tied to it. Did it create this, or is it just this? That's the question that you need to answer on your own. So what about the other words for the sun? We went through Helios and the Yod He Vav He and Lucy. How about the version of Sol? S-O-L. Well, the 151 is the 36 prime number. And it goes right back to the 666 being the 36 triangular number. Pretty interesting with these connections like this. And lastly, with this presentation, I wanted to end with the almighty Egyptian deity called Ra, which has a lot of seniority because this was a long time ago, which, according to archaeologists and historians, the Egyptian dynasties and the culture it predates Christianity and Gnosticism and Hinduism and any of the newer ones. And their god was, they had many, obviously, but Ra was the sun. And there it is. Ra is the 89, which is tied to Yaldabaoth in the English, which is going to be tied to the number 8. 19 is the 8th prime number. 19 is the sun card. But, it's really interesting because you bridge the gap with actinium, the 89th element. Remember, I always want to fact check these numbers against the periodic table. And it's the 227. We'll be getting to that in a minute. But 89 is a very powerful number because it's not just any number. It's a prime Fibonacci number. It's the 24th prime. Remember, 24 is our X chromosomes. It's the letter X. And the letter X here in the Satanic cipher is the number 59. 59 is tied to the game of life. The words the game of life in the Chaldean is 59. 59 reduces down to the number 5. 5 is the house of Leo, and it's ruled by the sun through astrology. And then we have the 11th Fibonacci number, which is going to tie to sodium and us being the salt of the earth. The salt of the earth. And what's interesting is, you bring these, and these are subtleties. You can synchronize it all. 11 is the letter K, and here's the letter K in the Satanic. What number is it? 46. 46 is tied to 19, 37, 46. So this is telling us, from what I see, is that we start off with Ra and the sun, and we come down here and become man, our X chromosomes, we become salt, and we become a game in this, a player. A Ready Player One situation with this number 46. This is tied to the tree of life as well through the biblical expressions, but that 46 is tied to 19, 37, 46, as I've been showing the prison planet that we're in. Now, lastly, to end this presentation, this how-to series, is this 227 found from the 89, originally found from Ra, and I guess you could just put the nail in the coffin with this one. right there is kind of tells it all. And why I had come out with the presentation, Sun Devil. You haven't seen my Sun Devil, please check it out. I mean, it's just so very fitting. Sun in Hebrews 55, 55 is tied to 26 and the Yod He Vav He. But anyway, these characters, they just change names and titles, but ultimately it's just to elude the fact that it all links back to the as above, and that's what we're being controlled by, however that looks. And we are the devil, folks. And it's the Son as the devil as well. It has a good side and a bad side, good cop, bad cop. And we all have the mirror of that. We're created in the mirror and the image. And we are the devil in human form. That's why we have the black suns in our eyes. So, folks, what did you see during this presentation? Obviously, the 614, it's kind of funny because it's Trump's birthday. It was made reference to Don't Look Up. When the comet was going to hit, but it's also tied to the third eye and Jupiter, but that's for another story. But anyway, what is it you saw during this how-to decode through the satanic cipher? I'd love to hear your comments. Just keep them cordial and nice. But I'd love to hear your observations. I know there was a lot more that I could have covered, but I'm trying to keep these on the shorter side due to the analytics and the shorter attention spans of the majority, and just try to keep these short, period. But anyway, folks, love to hear what you saw. And as I always say, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality. I thank each and every one of you great decoders out there around the world for all your contributions, your Patreons, your donations. Those of you that are interested in a reading, I have very few selected dates because I have my course coming up. So if you're interested, send me an email, decodeyourreality@gmail.com. So that's all I got for today. My name's Logan. Again, until next time, we'll see you later.